Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a piece of software called WP Automatic. This is the pricing page. The website is wpautomatic.com, and basically what this can do is it can take information and basically build out regular content about a particular topic or service. Now, one of the ways that we can potentially use this is by creating content on a geographical basis, and I'll show you how we do this. So effectively what we can end up with is creating that kind of geographical authority for our websites. So the way that we would do this is basically we buy the plugin. 10 licenses, $199, as you can see, so on and so forth. So this is a pretty interesting piece of software. There's lots of tutorials, there's blogs, there's documentation, etc., etc. Now, what I've done, I've added the plugin in. So I did this morning onto the Biotech Renewables website. And the way that I'm going to use this is by creating more authority for my town pages. And the way that we're going to do this is slightly convoluted and slightly complicated, but effectively what we're going to do is create dynamic elements onto the pages for the respective towns, and then we're going to import news items from the local press. But what we're then going to do is get WP Automatic to basically rewrite this content using ChatGPT. So effectively what we're talking about is a programmatic approach to creating internal links that point back to our Watford page, because that's the page that I'm going to do today. But this will then consistently create content about Watford. And then once we've got the content being produced, then we're going to put Link Whisperer into the domain so that every time the word Watford is featured in an article, it automatically links back to our Watford page. And we're also going to create a category so that on the Watford page, any piece of content about Watford will actually go onto there and it will dynamically update. So the page will pull through the category of Watford and display posts about that. And this combination of factors, I think, can be a useful way of gaining, making sure that the pages are indexed. It is a bit of a pain in the arse to set up, but once you've got this set up, this can be quite a valuable tool. We'll talk later about some of the things that you can potentially do with this as a kind of level 2 in terms of distributing the RSS feed from this page and getting this content reconstituted again, so that then we can have further backlinks from other sites which basically help to potentially index our content, and also can potentially basically get the content so that we've got backlinks that are relevant to the content that's being produced. So what we do is we add the plugin. You need to put in your license key. You need your OpenAI API key as well. So if you don't know how to do those, go and figure it out. It's not that complicated. Right, so what we're looking at here is a feed. We'll go through some of the settings that I've set so far, and then we'll figure out how we go about doing this, and it'll take you through it step by step. What I've suggested is that we run a new post every 1,000 minutes, so just under every day. We don't need loads and loads and loads of content, because otherwise this is going to get a bit complicated. But we want it to, and in fact you can change it. There you go. So I've done it completely the wrong way. So what we can do is every day, or even once a week, right? Once every 7 days, if we have a piece of content that's being produced programmatically so that we're not having to write it, that just gives us that internal link back to that local town page, which obviously in Google's eyes then potentially gives that page more internal relevance and more internal authority. So what we do is we go and find some feed sources. We'll come back to that in a moment. Then you can rotate the feed sources so you're not posting from the same one each time. And then we can do single post extraction mode. So we can auto detect what the title is and then auto detect what the content is. There's various different things that we could do. So we could strip the images from the extracted post. we can strip the tags, we can remove parts, etc., etc. I'm not going to go through all of that today. I'm saying don't strip script tags. And then the most important thing is the post template option. So what I want it to do is, so this GPT basically tells it to use ChatGPT to go and do the posting. Okay, you can leave the source link in if you wish to. I'm not going to do that in this instance, but you can, so that you're referencing the original source, so you're giving attribution to the source. And I'm saying my prompt is very simple. You are a journalist, rewrite a minimum 5-paragraph article about matched content. So that is the content that is included in this. Include a set of key points at the end and a summary. Include appropriate SEO relevant headers for each section. So, and that's, they've changed it slightly, so there's a newer version. Okay, and then what we can do is we can set default values for tags. We can do custom post slug permalink. I will just use post title, and then we want post. We want it to come from biotech renewables. We want it to be published. Now, then we can set the first image of the video as a featured image, and then set the alt text. Set the alt text to post title. So effectively what we're doing is we're trying to optimize it. Then what we need to do is create a category. So this is where this content will get posted. And the categorization of this is really important, because when we've created the category, then we can create an element on the page for Watford, so that then we can basically reference these back, but then we can create a dynamic element on that page, so that each time there's a new post, so every 7 days, then this will automatically update and it will incorporate that post on the page as well. So you can give it specific tags, etc., etc. So this is the process. There's much more complicated things that I'm doing here. And so what I'm asking you to do is remove links, etc., etc. So you can use proxies, because basically if you were doing lots and lots of repeat calls to a website, it might be that website would block you, in which case you might want to use proxies to protect it. But clearly, in this instance, we'll be visiting once every 7 days. Okay, so in terms of the process for actually finding content, right? So what I've done is I've looked in Watford News. So the Watford Observer is a local newspaper. watfordobserver.co.uk, and their dry cleaners are fined 15,000 is the most recent article. Now, what used to happen is that at the bottom of the page they'd have their RSS feed displayed, but less and less so currently. People don't tend to display their RSS feeds on sites anymore. So what you've then got to go and do, and basically you can repeat this process multiple times so that you get various different feeds. But I've then typed in Watford Observer RSS feed. So if we go into what that looks like, then it gives us a list of all the RSS feeds that this is generating. And then we can click on the RSS feed to see what it is showing. So if you know how to read an RSS feed, basically we can see who the managing editor is, we can see who the webmaster is, and then basically what it will do is talk about different things. These are basically the most recent posts. So there's the title, there's the link to the article, etc., etc. So what we've obviously wanted to do is only post when it finds an article that has content that's actually about Watford. And obviously we can see here that this article is about Chorley Wood, Watford Roadworks. There we go. Right, so that's an example of an article that if it all runs smoothly, and it doesn't always, but if it all runs smoothly, then effectively we've got the content there that will post. So we've found our RSS feed, we've added it in. Now what we can do is publish this campaign. And so we set it so that it was, is that 1 million? million posts. Now, what I'm going to do is manually run it, because this then tests, has it worked? And it'll take a minute, it will go and run through the RSS feed, it's got to send that information back to ChatGPT, it's got to come back, etc., etc. Last post, right, there we go. Right, so that article that we saw, which is the top page on the business, is now, right, so it has got the word Watford in the article. So there's no, as we can see, cleaners, Croxley, dry clean, fine, news, Watford. Right, so we've got a tag of Watford, okay? And obviously we've got the keyword Watford in here. So what we will then do is we'll then add Link Whisperer, so that every time there is the word Watford added in an article, that will link back to our Watford page and then give it the additional internal relevance. And obviously we can then go and repeat this process probably for smaller towns it's not going to work, but for larger towns where A, it's probably going to be more competitive, and so this is going to be something that's going to help you, but B, for smaller towns you're probably not going to have local newspapers, so therefore it can be more difficult to use in a smaller town. So this is one of the tactics that you can use. Obviously, building these internal links is really, really important, and creating those dynamic elements on the page that just display posts or posts from that category are very, very important also. And obviously, we can change the template that it's outputting on, so we can have, recent news over here. We could have our recent installations, all of that kind of information, so that we can give it a bit more context and make it a bit more amenable. But as you can see, this is quite an interesting article. It's got the word Watford in it, which was obviously key, and we can now use that to link back to our Watford piece, and then we can look in that that art. So in the categories, where do I find my categories? Categories, there we go. So in categories, this will now be tagged as a Watford article. So it has one post against it. So obviously what we then want to do is go and build that. Oh, look, there we go. Look, so actually there is a featured image, but it's not displaying an image in the article itself. That's okay, it's not the end of the world. But the point being is we've now got a category that we can then import onto the page. What you can then do, so the advanced tactic to this is you could use IFTTT, which is basically it's based on predicate logic. So if this, then that, it basically means that if something happens, then you can cause something else to happen. So what we could potentially do, for example, is we could output our, if we just log in as this, so what we could potentially do is we could do RSS feed. So for example, there's a small fee for this, but it's not that expensive. So we can say if new feed item, so we go and find our RSS feed. So that is biotech renewables /feed.xml. I think that'll be it. No. Right, let's try RSS feed.xml. No, right, so I've got, what plugin have I got for this? Have I got Rank Math? So Rank Math will be creating it. So what I then want to find is my RSS feed sitemap. Apologies, WordPress. I think it's set the standard, isn't it? I haven't looked for one for a while, so anyway, you get the idea. So basically what we could do is we could create a RSS feed. So in fact, what we could do is actually use this one, right, just as a sample. Right, so we've got that RSS feed. I can find mine later. That can be the trigger. Then what we could then do is we can then post this to, for example, so for example, we could search Facebook page. So we could then create a message, upload the photo, and send our piece of content onto here. There's some other advanced stuff that we can do with this as well, but we'll talk about that offline. And by the way, we've set up a Discord, so it's very new. I set it up yesterday. There's no members in there yet, but if you want to join, the link will be in the description to the video. Anyway, going back to the summary of this, they're WP Automatic. As you can see, this is the website, wpautomatic.com. I would recommend playing around with this because this can basically help if you're building out bigger sites in terms of getting those pages, town pages indexed and creating dynamic content. Google likes to see sites that are continually updating. This is potentially a way of doing that. Anyway, hope that was useful. Quick whistle-stop tour today. Do let me know if you have any questions and have a great day. Many thanks.